Beautiful. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Innovate BC. We have some entrepreneurs in the house today. So looking forward to hearing them. As we walked through this season, this time of the pandemic, what I've really witnessed is the rise of Indigenous entrepreneurship, and it's been beautiful to witness. Now, I realize behind the scenes, the struggle is real. I understand, the trying to figure things out, trying to pivot, but I've really seen, the strength of our Indigenous people and the gifts and what they have to offer in terms of business, services, items, that they bring a lot to this table and bring a lot to the economic table as well. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. I just want to press pause and just acknowledge the devastation that's happening in BC right now. I lit my medicines just 20 minutes ago. I just offered those prayers to the people and the community, to the land, all of that devastation. So we just want to think about our relatives in this moment and acknowledge, while we're talking about some amazing things today, we really keep in our hearts the struggle that some of our people, our communities are facing out in BC right now. So we give thanks to Creator for the gift of this moment, the gift of another day, the gift to be able to share, our dreams and our passions, the gift to just sit in this virtual circle. So we welcome you. We thank you that you're here. I am looking forward to hearing from all three of you today. We did have another guest who was coming, but she wasn't able to be here for whatever reason. So we just send good energy and prayers to her and her life situation right now. So welcome. So we're going to get started. So we have two different businesses that we're going to hear about this afternoon. So first we're going to start with, so normally what happens is I will introduce these folks. They have a bio that I will read, but they're going to share their own bio, because I think that's part of their story and their journey as entrepreneurs. So I'm going to first start with Joel and Mary. And so they have the Owl's Path. And then they have a whole bunch of other things that they have tapped into, or that they're starting or have started. So they're going to talk a little bit about their journey. So Joel and Mary, welcome. So first of all, tell us where you're joining us from. Tell us, are you safe around you? I think you're in BC as well. So tell us what's going on out there. Tell us about your business. So that's a couple of things I just had to do.
All right. Well, we are on Vancouver Island in Port Alberni. We are safe in where we are. There is some flooding over the island and over on the mainland quite a bit. We're lucky that we are where we are and grateful to be safe up here.
We're positioned on a nice little mountaintop up in the traditional territories of Nuu-chah-nulth people. And yeah, we're really grateful to be here.
So we are the Owl's Path. We have an enterprise that we've been building for, I guess, about 5 years. And it's pivoted multiple times, like everybody else's business. Honestly, one of the funniest things I've ever received was the first conversation I had with a local here. And it was when we first opened our business. They said to us, you know what? Your business isn't gonna be what you think it's gonna be. Keep going, and it may not be what you think it is. And we were looking at tourism as a tour operator. We ended up pivoting into a travel agency. We moved into a few different other paths at the same time: marketing, photography, videography, into web development, business development. We partnered up with Kendall Netmaker and offered his services as the business coaching. And that's one of the avenues that we have with the Owl's Path Market. And then we've got our own storefront that we work on, and some other stuff that we're in the beginning stages of right now. But we are here to try and help support people in the future and offers our experiences to see where you go next. And yeah, I think that was a good answer.
That was great. Do you want to tell us about your children? Because not only are they entrepreneurs, they are parents. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your kids?
Absolutely.
So we have 3 wonderful children that live with us here, and we have 4 more on the mainland. But so our 3 that we have home with us, we actually homeschool them. We made that choice back at the end of September. So we've been homeschooling since then. So we get up in the morning and we have our homeschool curriculum that we do with them. And then after that, we try to do a little break and go outside and get some nature therapy before we jump back into our own work. Yeah, they've been actually quite amazing through the whole process as well, because it's been really fun to share the experience with them. So when we started doing marketing, local marketing, we would go around to different places and take photographs. And our 10-year-old daughter, she got into that. So she likes to take photographs as well. And I actually use her as my photographer when I'm doing like different clothing photos that we're doing, like on our property. I'll get my daughter like, hey, come with me. And she'll like take a few snaps and I'm like, hey, you got some awesome ones. And I actually use them on our website. And yeah, just being able to share that with them. And then like, as Joel is a 60 scoop survivor, it's been really interesting diving into Indigenous tourism and learning more about culture and being able to share that with our kids. So that's been really great. And yeah, just through all the transitioning. So starting off with marketing and going out into the field and taking photographs and building our own advertisements where we can showcase what we want to really highlight, and showing our kids that. We started with photography and marketing, and then transitioning through the challenges of COVID. We had our storefront that we had a soft opening two days before the COVID lockdown. So that was a little brutal. So then we were all locked up in our house again with our kids, and we were like, hey, well, you know what? We have our silk screen. It's just been sitting there. Let's just get it out and do something about it. And so we got our silk screen out and we were on our kitchen table, like literally from the ground up, learning silk screening, and then doing that with our kids again. So they've been able to learn all these things through our journey. And I think that's been really important as a motivator for sure. Definitely. Just having them by our sides and learning with us as we move forward.
Kids running around without clothes on.
that might happen, by the way.
Welcome to our life.
I went out this morning and my daughter was coloring in the living room just over there. And she came over and she had green painted on her eyes and her forehead. I'm like,
I love it. I love it. That's why we do the things we do, right? It's for the children. It's creating a better path, a better future for our kids. And I can only imagine, the seeds that you're planting in your kids' lives as they watch you grow and do what you're passionate about. So I love a good origin story. And I love the story of how you came to name your business, the Owl's Path. So can you take us down that road? Tell us the beginnings.
Okay, that's a good one. Joel was really in his spiritual path when this had happened. And in entrepreneurship, you run into things and you're like, oh, should I do this? Or like, should I keep going? And he had a few different messages that came to him, and this was one of them. And so we were taking our kids to go look at the full moon one night. Like, come on, kids, we're going in the car. We're going to go for a drive and go look at the full moon. They're like, okay. So we get in the car and we're driving, and there's kind of a hill, and we're driving down the hill. And we're like, what is that? What is that in the middle of the road? And I'm like, I don't know. So he's like, it's a bird. So we pull over and picks up this bird, brings it in the car. He's like, it's an owl, like an owl. And it was still warm. Like it must have just hit a car or something, because it was perfectly fine, except for that it had his neck broken. And so we picked it up, brought it back home. We called up our elders and we're like, what do we do? What do we do? And they were actually in a sweat. And so they call us back. They're like, okay, so this is what you got to do. And they taught us how to preserve the wings and take care of the talons and preserve the feathers. And so Joel has like the whole owl, like in nicely preserved. And we're like, wow. And like, with many First Nations cultures, the owl is kind of symbolic of like death, or like something like death is going to happen. One of the families that I grew up with, oh, here's my dog. There's a great face. So with First Nations cultures, like the family that I grew up with, and anytime they had seen an owl, it symbolized that somebody was going to pass. And so I mentioned that to our elders, and they're like, well, not necessarily. Like, you're taking the owl and you're preserving it. And in their view, an owl could be symbolic of the ending of something and the start of something new. And it also symbolizes wisdom. So we're like, wow, that's really cool. And then shortly after that, like we kept seeing owls like in news or like on the road. Like we had owls around our house. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. And then there was another experience where it was a couple days before Christmas. And again, driving down the road, my sister was driving and I was in the back seat with the kids. And the road was really foggy. And this man was pushing something off the road with like a stick. And Joel's like, what the heck is that? I'm like, well, let's stop and find out. And so we asked the man, what is that? Oh, I just hit this owl. And he's like, what? He's like, what are you going to do with it? And he's like, oh, I was just going to like, dispose of it. And Joel's like, no. Like, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of that for you. And so I happen to have an empty diaper box in the back of my car. And so he put the owl in there, and Joel's in the passenger seat. My sister's driving, and she's like, I think I hear it breathing. We're like, what? And it starts flapping in the box, and we're like, oh my gosh. And he's like holding this box because he doesn't want this owl jumping out in the car. And so we get it back home, and we live on a property where we had ducks before. So we had like this quarantine box, and we put the owl in there, and it was, again, call up our elders and like, what do we do? And she's like, well, it's stunned. Like he must have just hit a car and he was just stunned. So you just need to give it electrolytes and maybe some ground beef or something, just make it comfortable, and then kind of watch it, and then it'll probably go. So we did that for 2 days. And then on Christmas Eve, we actually let it go off of our balcony. And we have a video of it where it actually like looks back, like, thank you, and like flies away. And we're like, wow, like that was so amazing. And so we're like, you know what? And Joel's like, Owl's Path. That's a great name. The Owl's Path. I'm like, that is a good name. And so that's kind of like where, well, the name came from. But then also, like, we do follow the Owl's Path. Like, we've had so many instances where an owl would be like, if we're talking to someone and they were wearing an owl pendant, or talking to someone in their Zoom and they had like a little owl behind them, and we're like, oh, we should definitely talk to that person. So we did follow the Owl's Path, and that was part of it. And so that is pretty much how our path went, and that's guided us to where we are today.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. I love how Creator, sends messengers our way. speaks to us through those messengers. So thank you for sharing. I love that story. Okay, so if I were to come to the Owl's path, what kind of products, what kind of services could I access?
We have,
So
through us, we have,
currently we do
yeah.
clothing design, we do marketing, we can create full lines of clothing, we can start you from our latest project that we were working on was getting artists that have no background in business and starting creating an opportunity and a path for them. So the artist would come to us, we would take their artwork, vectorize it, put it onto clothing, and then over a 3-year contract with them. The first year is us just helping them get themselves marketable, creating the website, creating a path, the business line, the business registration and everything. Then we take you up to NEDC, which is a New Channels Economic Development Corp. They try and help you find funding. That way you can either go through there or Futurepreneur and work with them.
So we connect you with all of our affiliates.
Yeah.
And all of our business contacts.
And we'll help you basically walk you all the way through from the beginning of an idea to a full business after 3 years, and then you take over everything and we walk away. So that was, we brought that up to the powwow pitch a few years ago, or about a year ago. We have gone through 3 different artists so far, and are still looking at it as a viable business, especially even though we are remote. It gives us a little bit of opportunity to be able to take our business to a location and help other people do that. So it's still kind of the same idea. And the products are clothing, any product, basically clothing.
We do in-house silk screening, but we also have third-party printers.
Yeah.
So with our design that we're testing out, product testing, we'll do a lot of in-house silk screening, test the market.
Just for fun, just to see what it looks like. And then we do have our third-party printer. The website development we do ourselves. We also do the marketing, so photo, video that you need for it. So we'll create and stage your products.
We've done that with our tourism partners as well. So when we started off with tourism, we were reaching out to all the different Indigenous owned tourism operators. And even if they were remote and we weren't able to go there, we're like, well, just send us what media you guys have. If you have some really nice photographs, just send them on over to us and we'll send you back a little advertisement for your website. And then we'll put that on our website as well to try and direct traffic flow to you guys. So that's kind of how that started. But yeah, products. Mainly right now we've kind of downsized on products as we've been transitioning into clean energy. So our main focus at the moment is going into clean energy. Joel will be back to tell you more a little bit about that. That was partially what our Zoom was this morning.
Sorry, kids again. So our transition is into, we're trying to help create an opportunity for Indigenous communities to have housing as well as heating. In the hemp game that we're looking at right now is we're trying to expand. We received a grant from ICE Network to start pushing us into this clean energy sector. So it's right now we're looking at either trying to facilitate building a new building and then manufacturing out of there, or finding something along the net zero program that they're doing right now through the Canadian government to do basically rebuilding the inside of a building up to green code. So they're looking for solar panels, any way to get CO2 out of the air, carbon, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a lot of learning and continuous learning every day. But there is a lot of good people in this area, and there's a lot of good opportunity for Indigenous people to start stepping into this area, because there's so many different variables that we could use in our communities nowadays. And if we start looking at it from a different view of it being stanky weed to cannabis and hemp and properties to be able to create textiles and manufacture job and opportunities for communities, it'll create clean energy for everybody. So it'll be a lot of fun to try and get into over the next year.
That's amazing, stepping into the clean energy sector. I mean, I'm definitely green in that. I don't have a lot of understanding, but I think it's really, really important that we begin to walk towards that. So I salute both of you for stepping into that. So it sounds like you're doing some mentorship. You have to tap into your creativity for what you're creating when your customers or clients come to you. You're doing a lot over there. So how do you keep the balance between being an entrepreneur, stepping into something new that calls you, like that clean energy piece, being parents, especially homeschooling like that, and then there's probably so much more that's on your plate. So how do you balance this all as entrepreneurs?
A key is collaboration for us.
Mhm.
If it was all me doing everything, or all me and Mary doing everything, or all Mary doing everything, it would be
We would look crazy right now.
yeah, my hair would be like and nuts. And at the end of the day, that's the reason. Collaboration.
You can get so much done when people work together.
Yeah. And everybody has skills and has a path to be able to follow. Your skills will add to somebody else's, and that path that you're creating right now on your own, it could be amplified by 500% by just adding one person or two people or 10. And it doesn't mean, hey, I'm selling my business to you. It's, hey, you know what? We're two strong people. Let's move together in a direction. And that's how we keep it together, because I can't learn everything, and neither can she, especially with the kids. But we can dedicate some of our time and our focus to learning the skills that we need, so that we can find the right people to help us get to the next level.
And I think you found, like you said, you connected with Kendall Netmaker. So he's a business coach, he's a firecracker, he's awesome. So what is one thing that you learned from him? Like in just his teachings, maybe, I don't know if he mentored you, I'm not sure the entire relationship, but what's one takeaway that you had from Kendall?
To automate.
Automate anything that you can.
Yeah. There's so many apps out there and so many ways for you to take all that extra work away from yourself, so that you can actually focus on what your goal is, because there's a million distractions. But if you automate it, the distractions aren't yours. Computers are faster than what we do.
That's right.
That's good advice. And I love how you both said it at the same time. All right. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Dream big. Where do you see yourself kicking butt in the community that you're working?
I foresee housing and fuel sources covered. The opportunity to be able to create winter housing and winter fuel for Indigenous people throughout Canada, and then being able to offer it to communities individually as franchises. You've got the Shell Corporation who's up there everywhere. There should be an Indigenous corporation out there doing the same thing, that are facilitating housing, fuel for Indigenous people in the communities up north, ways of trying to help keep housing going for Indigenous people. So it's not just overnight, not just one time, it's continuous from now on, that there's never a worry about staying warm. Elders shouldn't have to worry about the flooring in their house or the holes in their walls. There should be new piping, new buildings. A house is falling down, build a hemp house, create something around that area where you can create and take carbon out of the environment and give back to the communities and create villages for them so that it lasts for a long time. You know, when they were put up together and when those houses were put together, it was a quick minute to put it up, and it's had to hold on to this long. But why not be able to give ourselves in 5 years the chance to be able to drop a village at a time? Here's a new housing project for all of your people at one time, and here's heating to be able to keep yourselves going. And then now you don't have to worry about that at the end of the year. You have to worry about your food and what you're going to be doing for your future, not worrying about what you have to do to keep your house warm and keep yourself under a roof. And in 5 years, that's what I want to do, is be able to offer that to everybody around us.
Wow, I love it. I can't wait to see that come to fruition. I believe in you too. All right, so we have all learned many lessons through this pandemic. I don't even know what month we're on. Like, you know, I don't even know, 20 months in. But what was some of your biggest challenges with your business during the pandemic?
Tourism. Tourism. They're saying right now that the indigenous tourism sector is going to bounce back by 2028, back to its full 100%. And that's a long time. And without any help from the federal government and to keep these lights on for these indigenous tourism operators, it's going to make it a little hard. And that seems to be, tourism is one of the hardest parts for what we're going through right now. If there's a way for that kind of funding, that would be huge from the government.
So if you were to give advice, a piece of advice to a young entrepreneur who's just starting out, what would your piece of advice be?
Definitely learn as much as you can. Whatever it is that you're interested in, just learn as much as you can about it. And then just put all that knowledge into your business plan. Having a nice solid business plan is really important. And then just never give up. Being an entrepreneur is hard. There are so many ups and downs. And sometimes those downs can make you feel defeated, but you're not. And you just gotta take your time, deal with it, and then move forward. Try to move forward. Just keep moving forward.
That's some great advice. Never give up. Because there's going to be those moments like the pandemic, like, right? There could have been so many times you could have given up. Like, you're like, this is it. I can't do this anymore. But look at you pushing through. I think even coming up with some new ideas as well as what you wanted to offer. So thank you so much for bringing your story to our panel today. Love to hear from both of you. And I can't wait to see in 5 years where you're going to be. Thank you so much. All right, so now we're gonna transition to Casey she's all about decolonial clothing. So first of all, I would love to have you introduce yourself. Where are you joining from? A little bit about you, and then tell us about your business.
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Joel and Mary. That story with the owl and just everything is so inspiring. It's just great to hear you guys talk. I can listen to you guys all day. But yes, hi everybody. My name is Casey Desjarlais. I am from Treaty 4 territory in so-called Saskatchewan. And right now I am tuning in from Burnaby on the unceded Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh people, Coast Salish lands, also known as Vancouver. And my business is Decolonial Clothing Company. So one sec, sorry. So my business is streetwear clothing. We specialize in t-shirts and hoodies, just streetwear. We have sweatpants, t-shirts, toques. We have been actually dabbling in some accessories. So like earrings, we've been partnering up with this young Indigenous entrepreneur who hand carves and also laser carves silver. So we had a run of some earrings and some necklaces. But yeah, just clothing and accessories.
All right. So how did you come to be in a place where like, this is what I want to do? I want to sell clothing. And it sounds like you're selling clothing with a message as well. So how did that idea come?
Yeah, so me and my partner, Dakota Bear, we both have been, we always wanted something to work on together, something we could pass down to our children, because we also are parents as well. And Dakota, he is a hip hop artist. He started out in Saskatoon, which is where we met. And when we moved out to Vancouver, we did want to work on something together. And we knew that like clothing was something that, you know, people wear to express themselves. And we noticed that there was a lack of Indigenous identity and representation in the fashion industry. There is amazing fashion and clothing designers that are Indigenous and BIPOC, but in the mainstream. So we wanted to see ourselves in stores and where people could find us easily out there in public. And we wanted to decolonize places. So we thought that clothing is the best way to drive a message. You know, it sparks conversations when people wear clothes. We start to, I feel like when I'm out there, you know, in these colonial spaces and these Western systems and societies, when I look down and I see my ancestors on me, or I read a message that gives me strength and resilience, that's the feeling that we wanted to give to other people, is that, you know, our ancestors are always with us. They got our backs, you know, and we're up against so much as Indigenous people. And it's just a nice way, a friendly reminder to look down and know that you are protected, that people are walking with you. And it just gives us strength. And so, yeah, we wanted people to feel that, and we wanted to see it also for ourselves out there.
I love that. I was asked, I don't know, maybe about 6 years ago, so I was asked, but then I was planted a seed in my life. Think about what you're wearing to every single day and be intentional with what you're wearing, and to be able to wear clothes that bring that message or that remind us, you know, that we aren't alone, that when we feel like we are, when we're up against those systems, wearing those clothes is a reminder that the ancestors are like cheering us on, that creator's got our back. So I love that message that you are bringing. So how long did it take you to get here to where you are in your business?
So when we first moved, it was in 2014, so 2014, and we started a brand. It was called 30604 Apparel. And basically that brand just encompasses where we come from, which is Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. The area code is 306, and then Vancouver 604. So it was kind of like a journey, a story of our journeys, traveling together, pivoting our lives, and then also coming together as one, you know, like we wanted something to work on. And for me, I felt that there was no substance to it. It was, you know, like I wanted something that I can continue to pass on to continue to tell stories. So we did rebrand in 2020. So we've been doing like the 30604 Apparel for a while, selling our clothing at different vendors that we can get into, and then just out of our backpack to our family and friends. We didn't have a website. It was just on Facebook. But shortly after rebranding, we just kind of went all in. It was 2020, and it was actually the height of the pandemic, a couple months into the pandemic. And, you know, it really pushed us to buckle down and really get this business, because we've been talking about it for so long. We wanted to continue to do more stuff with our clothing. But so we did buckle down. We got the website, we got one product and we ran with it. So we didn't want to overload ourselves with too many products. We just focused on one and just let's market this product, push all people to our website so they have somewhere to be and they can place an order. We can make it friendly, like so that you can pay through e-transfer, through cash. We can meet up with you. So we made it very accessible. So it took a few years to get to where we are now. We did stop along the way. We took breaks. I went to school for a little bit. I just did the motherly thing. Like we, as parents, there's always so much going on when you're a parent. So we really had to focus. And the pandemic, it did teach us a lot of lessons. And one of the lessons that it helped us was that we have to slow down. We got to work together. We're at home now. It's like we're forced to be together. We're forced to talk this out. We're forced to find a way forward. And thankfully we did. We made a plan. And it's just been trying to keep up with it because the business has just been crazy lately. So it's us, like the business is going good now. We got to keep up to speed with it.
Wow. So humble beginnings. So you started with one article of clothing and you made it accessible for people to purchase, which I think is really, really important. So what motivated you to keep going? And what motivates you right now to keep going?
I think just stepping into business in general, it's a risk. It's always going to be a risk. There's bold choices that we have to make. There's sacrifices. But one thing that always pushed me to keep going with business and with life is that our generation right now as young people is that we're breaking a lot of cycles. We hear of other people, like generational wealth that a lot of Indigenous people don't have. And, I grew up in a household we didn't have a lot of money. We were, poverty was always knocking at the door. So that always pushes me is that I want to give something to my kids. I want to have a future for them. I want them to be set up for success. And just breaking down those barriers for my children, the ones that I had to go through and grow through. And that has always just been my motivator, was just like Joel and Mary was our kids.
And that's a huge motivator, and it's a good reason to not give up. That's a good reason to keep pursuing, this dream and this idea of bringing the message with some clothing. I am all about those accessories, so I can't wait. So you do have a website that has all of your items now, so it's more than just one item that you have.
Yeah, so we did find right before we rebranded, we took this $300 course on Shopify and clothing, and it was from this young YouTuber, and we stumbled across this YouTuber who was doing really good with Shopify. So we took this $300 course, and it motivated us because there's young people out there getting it, and they're getting paid, and they're getting successful. So it was super inspiring. And he was just telling us, when you're first starting out, you can have so much varieties of different things. Sometimes customers will get overwhelmed. Sometimes you will get overwhelmed. So just to test the waters, start with one. So that was something that we just bit off and ran with that one piece of information. And it was this knockoff, not a knockoff. It was a version of Champion. So we see a lot of the natives out there rocking Champion. They're the ambassadors of Champion. So we're you know what? We need to decolonize that. Let's get our natives rocking native made clothing. So we did the Champion C, but it said decolonize. And it seemed like that was just what people were looking for. So after a while, I think it was on for a few months just by itself. And then we started kind of tapping into our creative side and thinking of different logos. And then we started just having a catalog of different stuff. So yeah, we do have a variety of different stuff. But just recently we oh sorry. So just recently we signed a lease to a warehouse. So now having this warehouse, it does limit a little bit of the things that we can produce because we do screen printing as well for in our warehouse. And the thing with screen printing is that you have a certain amount of colors that you can have on a design. So right now we just invested in a 6-color press. So now our designs are able to have 6 colors rather than 2 or 4, which are like the basic screen printer equipment. So we have that. And then we're just working on our fall collection and our winter collection right now.
Wow, that sounds amazing. What an amazing journey. So you did tap into a little bit about during the pandemic, some of the things that you've learned, and one of them was rest, and one of them I think was finding that balance within your relationship, because now you're at home together. So what else, is there anything else that you learned for your business through this pandemic?
I think like Joel and Mary said before, was that, we're always learning. We're always learning new skills. But something that me and Dakota always come back to is that we got to learn how to work together. Like they were saying, we balance each other out. Like if I was doing everything with me and my high strong way of thinking, I'd be all crazy all over the place. Dakota is like chill. He's like mellow, and everything is like smooth sailing. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like orders. We got this and that. But yeah, it's like working together and knowing that we're a team, like my stressors are his stressors and we can share those. I don't have to hold the weight of everything. The thing with like living with your business partner, and he's not just your business partner, he's also your life partner and the father of your children. It's knowing that we can lean on each other for support, that we're in this together, no matter how hard things get, it's us at the core of everything. If we're not strong, everything can fall apart. Business, the house. So as long as we have each other and we have solid communication, then we know that whatever happens tomorrow, we're in it together, and we're going to get through this. Even though we have pivots and bumps along the way, is that at the core of everything is us, and we got to stay solid. So just always embracing that, and like being together is super important.
Yeah, that's so good, Casey. And also like communication is huge, especially if you're doing business with your life partner and a business, but that communication piece is so integral. So thanks for pointing that out. All right, so if you have any advice to give to a young entrepreneur, what would it be?
Wow. First of all, it's great that you're thinking of entrepreneurism, because as Indigenous people, we're naturally an entrepreneur. We had methods of economic growth. We had our own markets. We had our own economic livelihood, and it's just knowing that we do hold the strength. We do hold what's necessary to grow a business. And just first of all, believing in yourself, is that these dreams are big, but they have to be as big as the problems that we're trying to create, that we're trying to solve. We have to dream big if we want to make some change. So just believe in yourself. Know that your dreams are not too big, that they have to be big, because we have big problems to solve. And it's just doing it, like you just go making a plan, getting as much information as you can, like Joel and Mary said, and just believing in yourself, because we can do things. And if that little bit of doubt in our mind is always saying, we can't do this, you're not going to do it right, eventually we succumb to those voices. And yeah, they're always going to be there, but we have to be strong enough to tell ourselves that we can do this. Like it's hard, it's so hard, but we got to pick what kind of path we want to go down, which heart do you want to live in? So that's the one thing, is that it's going to be hard. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's really hard, and you're going to doubt yourself, but you just got to stick through it, ride those waves, learn to rest, because nonstop grinding, I know people market that, but it's a balance between rest and hustling.
Love that. And if people were to wear your clothes, they would be reminded in those down moments that the ancestors got my back. So thank you so much for sharing, both of you. What an inspiration that you have been. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for sharing your story, and being with us in this moment. We have a couple of folks on. If you have any questions, I think that Ken mentioned. Ken, do you have something to add?
I just wanted to mention that unfortunately my experience could take a whole hour, but if you can contact buyers, for example, if you're in the clothing industry, but if if you have friends that are in the needle trades or other things related to fabric or needlework or printing, I'm a buyer, so with a large corporation, and I had a contact who I knew lost his job, and he was entrepreneurial. He sent around some flyers, and I got his flyer. And at the same time, I was facing a large multi-million-dollar contract where I wanted to break the 25-year history of going to one supplier. So I called him, and I got on the phone, and I said, Dale, I said, what business are you in? Because he was doing something different than what he was doing previously, where he lost his job. And I said, are you in the business of making money? And he said, yes. I said, well, here, I've got an interesting opportunity. He got involved in the opportunity. I was criticized all to heck because my bosses said, these guys that you're getting to bid are all entrepreneurs, and these are all home addresses. I said, I don't care. I'm going to save you money. And I like I say, I could take an hour to describe it. But don't stop advertising. Don't stop, and don't limit yourself to just screen printing. Don't limit yourself to just fabric and needle trays. If you've got friends, this particular fella ended up with a contract, multi-million-dollar contract. His daughter also bid on it, and she ended up with a multi-million-dollar contract. The corporation that I work for saved millions of dollars over a 7-year contract. The contracts, they could take these 7-year contracts into the bank. So everybody was winners, and he was doing something that he had no experience in. However, his brother was a metal worker, a welder, had a forklift truck driver. They set up a temporary warehouse to do goods, and we set up an RFP in order to enable new startups to do it. So there are buyers out there. So contact people out there, and if they believe in you, it doesn't matter whether it's Walmart or whoever, but contact the buyers. The buyers can be your greatest friend. They will take a chance on you because they ended. I got disconnected here. So the buyers end up winning as well. So contact buyers, big corporations, small corporations. If they believe in you, they will call you when there's an opportunity. And they're not doing it to do you a favor. They're doing it themselves a favor because they need people out there to do stuff that they don't know where else to get the business, the work done. And if you've got contacts, friends, relatives, network that can jump into something that you're not currently doing, but something related that you have experience with, go for it, because there are people that will believe in you. And right now, there's a push on Indigenous business. Anything to do with the government over the next 5 years, 5% of their spend has to be Indigenous spend. And you've got a liberal government who's pushing that. So, and I assume the conservative government, if they get in over the next 5 years, which I doubt they will back that. Sorry, I've hogged the speaker enough, but don't believe in yourself. Set I got a little thing in the mail, a little postcard in the mail say, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm doing something different. And I recognize it. And I said, hey, I know this guy. So anyway, believe in yourself, promote, and move on. Thank you.
I love that. Thank you, Ken. I think there's something definitely to be said about making those connections and networking and building those relationships. That's so, so key. I had just chatted with my friend, and long story short, he's Indigenous man. He was living in the Philippines, landed in jail. This is just recent, but in jail, he started to make these connections with everybody. And he started his own little entrepreneurial business in jail because of relationship, because of making those connections. So something to be said about building relationships and building that rapport with other people who may not even necessarily be in your field. You never know who talks about you in a good way behind your back when you have that good relationship. So thanks, Ken. That was just for me a reminder of how important relationships and networking is. So Jackson had made, he's like, if you're looking for support for your businesses, so we put a link there. You might want to check it out. Jackson, I don't know if you have anything else to add, wanted to say, ask a question or a comment. Feel free.
Hey guys, that was a great presentation. I really, really enjoyed the stories. And it's great to see some Indigenous businesses that are successful and starting to move through, the difficulties that everybody's experiencing with the pandemic. The link that I put up there is for Capilano University. It's for it's a program that I manage, and we're looking for Indigenous businesses to support. It comes with $10,000, supports for mentors. Have a look at the website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Both of your businesses are amazing, and I know both areas, and I'm sure that there's, I'm not a fashion person, wearing a t-shirt right now. So, I'm sure that there's people that we can make connections with you or for you. And, we're looking to pay mentors to help Indigenous businesses. So if you come to us and say, you know what, there's this amazing mentor that I would love to work with, we'll figure out how to pay them, and we'll figure out, how to sign a contract with them and get the things that you guys need. We're trying to help people grow their businesses, and that's what we're here for. So, we got funding up to 2025. Our applications are open. We don't have closing dates on them. We take individual clients on, and we're not currently doing this like as a cohort, so there's no deadline. But I think, both of you would be really good candidates. Have a look at the website, have a look at the application. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you again for the presentations. They were great.
That's amazing. Thanks so much. So possible connection there for you folks. I love it. I love good synergy, and I love building those good relationships. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. For those who are catching this, on the video, thank you for joining and listening and tuning in. I hope you walk away inspired. I certainly am. I'm super excited to see where you will be in 5 years from now and 10 years from now. I loved what you said, Casey, and we'll end with this. We have big problems to solve. So make sure your dreams are big. Bring them, because we got a big creator. So thank you all so much. I'm so inspired. I feel just so honored that I got to hear a little bit of your story. I know there's so much more, but keep following your path, following that dream, following what Creator has put inside of you. So thank you all for being here. Have a good rest of the day. Peace, everyone.